to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. What a wild night it was in college basketball. Yes, March Madness has survived and March Madness has finished, completed, and we have a brand new national championship. We'll get into that in a sec. And also, we're going to talk about Sam Darnold. Was this trade a saving grace for Darnold's career? And could he actually flourish? And how this actually may work out for both the Jets and the Panthers. I can't believe I just said both the Jets. It just doesn't go right with the Jets and going and making a good decision. It just doesn't usually, but we're going to see. But let's start off with last night. Coming in, we've seen this before because we've been on fans of the side of going against perfection, as the New York Giants once did stop that perfection of 18-0 with the New England Patriots. Let's go to college basketball, and now we had a team in Gonzaga. I know we haven't even actually talked about the Final Four game. Maybe we'll go down as to me, that was the greatest game I've ever watched as a basketball fan. And it was a shame that somebody had to lose in that game. But just it literally was it was like a perfect movie. I know the score and the way they ended, but how that game went before any of that even happened was just back and forth. It reminded me of just a 15-round fight, a bloodbath of just knocking each other out with the best punches and each team giving it back. It was an instant classic, and thank God that UCLA and Gonzaga gave us that, because Baylor's been doing this to everybody in this tournament. They ran house. They ran house on the Cougars of Houston in the Final Four, and we thought Houston would give them a game. And then last night, the surprise. I would say this is a surprise, but maybe some would say not, because we have to also remember, ladies and gentlemen, earlier this year, these two teams were supposed to play. This was supposed to be 1 versus 2, but due to COVID protocols and somebody in one of the programs getting COVID, they had to postpone this game. So we finally got to see this matchup. And it was a great March Madness. But was Baylor really the best team? We talked about Gonzaga all year, Ted, and they were well-doing. They defeated a lot of great opponents. But was this Baylor team actually the best team in college basketball this season?
They were last night. I mean, we talked about it last night after the game, and you're like, what'd you say? I'm like, well, they only lost one game. You go, no, they lost 2. And I go, oh, yeah. Oklahoma State and Kansas. But for the most part, they were dominant all year. They had 3 guys that shot over 40% from the 3. They had 3 big guys that they can pull in and out, versatile. They had a great coach. This was a team that you thought last year had a chance to have a run at the national championship / Final Four. And because of what happened with regards to COVID last year, everything got canceled. So this is the finale. This is what Baylor wanted. This is what they got. If you really look at the tournament, they dominated everyone they played from first round to the last round. There wasn't a close game. I mean, they destroyed Houston in the Final Four. It was over, like similar to last night's game.
It was like 43 to 18 at one point in the Final Four, and then last night.
I mean, they had literally everyone they had played, they had pretty much dominated. Now, I saw on Twitter last night, stupid people saying, this is Gonzaga. This is what happens when you play in the West Coast Conference. They didn't play anyone. Well, then you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't watched college basketball. Because if you realize who they had beaten this year, they had beaten their 2, 3, and 4 seeds in their own March Madness tournament or bracket.
Dominated in the bracket and dominated them.
They had pretty much dominated everyone they played this year. They had won 29 of their 30 or 27 of their 29 games by double digits. Their closest games were to BYU. But, I mean, with that being said, Baylor was the best team last night. Now, I don't know how they would have played 10 out of 10 games. I think it would be a lot closer. Gonzaga was just overwhelmed in the beginning. And I think when you're down 19 to 20 points and you're always fighting uphill battle where it feels like you're running uphill, but someone's throwing rocks at you and you're dodging and you get up close and then boom, it hits you. I mean, the closest I think I remember them getting last night was about 9 with about 7:34 left. And next thing you know, it was back to 16 and 20. I thought the biggest difference last night was the physicality and the defense of Baylor. Also, their ability to hit the 3. If you looked at this,
my God, they could not miss.
Only 1 or 2 threes, and And they might be made 3 or 4, but I'm not going to count the last 2 by Suggs late in the fourth quarter. I mean, late in the end of the game when there was less than 3 minutes left. I mean, Baylor, they were hitting threes. Listen, I'll trade threes for twos all day long. All right, you got to hit 3 twos. I only got to hit 2 threes. And that's what Baylor does well. And their defense was ferocious. Mitchell was unbelievable. That's why he was the defense player of the year. Butler actually showed up. He had not had a great tournament, and he played really well last night. First player since Carmelo in 2003 to have 20 points and 7 assists. So, hey, listen, a great finale. I think as fans, we always hope for a greater game. You know, you thought you had the 2 best teams, and you were hoping that you would get that, Rocky Balboa Apollo fight, but you didn't get it. It was Mr. T in the first fight before Rocky came back, where it was over early and it was over by the third round. You had to throw in the towel.
It was crazy. Like, I remember just because I was working last night and I put on the game and it was already right off the bat 23-8. I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on here? This is not supposed to happen. Gonzaga is undefeated. They've dominated everybody they can at will. They just probably matched a better opponent. And if they played 10 times, I'd give the edge to Baylor about 8 or 9 of those 10 times. I think with the physicality, with the defense that they played, and the big 3 of Baylor just outperformed the big 3 of Gonzaga. Butler, Teague, and Mitchell were better than Timmy, Kisper, and Suggs. Plain and simple. That's those were the 3 big stars. Those were the 6 big stars you can say coming into this game. And the Baylor Bears big 3 outperformed. Like Drew Timme had an unbelievable season. But he went against Mark Vital, and he looked like he was overmatched. He looked like they haven't seen.
Well, I mean, if you
and then
Suggs
even the 3. Hold on. Even the 3-point shooting, they had great looks.
Listen, but
they couldn't capitalize. Where Baylor was capitalizing.
The whole second half, a high screen and roll at the top of the key with Mitchell. And then Timmy was the trade-off, and you had the guard on the big man, and Timmy's guarding Mitchell. And if anyone knows him, most guards can't even guard Mitchell. So it was a high screen and roll, and they ran the play consistently in the second half, and Gonzaga had no answer. Listen, I don't want to hear Gonzaga was overrated. Stop. They're not overrated. The reason why
you sound like an idiot. You just sound like a typical.
Their strength of schedule is 85th because their conference is shitty, but that doesn't mean they're bad. That doesn't mean they're bad because when they played everyone that was in the top competition all year round, they had dominated. Now, does Baylor consistently this year? Listen, this is a COVID year, so teams were only playing interdivisional games. So Baylor was playing the Big 12 all the time. They were playing Kansas State. They were playing Oklahoma State. The Big 12 was on a daily and weekly basis giving Baylor more competition. But Gonzaga was no slouch. So
that's a new one.
Yeah, that's definitely a new one. Listen, Suggs, you get the 2 fouls early in the first 4 minutes of the game. That doesn't give you a good start, especially when he really sets the tone for them. Timmy was not able to dominate. I thought man-to-man Gonzaga was overmatched physicality. And Speedwise, listen, I told you this last night, and this is no disrespect to Gonzaga because I have a much more found respect in them than I think you have because you've always knocked them. You're like, oh, so
no, but not this year.
This is what they say the pros versus the Joes, and then there's some pros on Gonzaga, but
Jalen Suggs is going to be a top 3 pick.
You know how when you just look at a team or players and you're like, that guy's an athlete? The athletes that Baylor was able to throw on the court were so much better than Gonzaga because Chris Bird didn't do anything. He was an All-American, didn't do anything. I forget the gentleman's name, number 11 for Gonzaga, who had 22 points in the Final Four game. But where was he? Gonzaga team himself did not show up. I would have loved to see a rematch.
Oh, Aya. He only had 8 points. He struggled last night. He didn't do anything.
I would have loved to see Gonzaga where they're not down 23-3 in the first 3 minutes. Let's see a game because Gonzaga played much better in the second half, but it was too late, too little. And
it was just every time they were trying to cut into the lead, Baylor responded with like a big 3 or something. And we can't knock Gonzaga. I know everybody's gonna knock them because typical. They get to the national championship, the Final Four, and they blow it. This was a team that went 31-0. This is a team that dominated everybody they played. This was a team that scored almost as many points as any other team in history of college basketball, averaging 92 points a game. This was a team that had everything. They had stars. They had the coach. They had the will to win. They just met an inferior team, another team.
It happened.
Like what I said. when we talk about the Giants and the Patriots, the Patriots team was like Gonzaga. They can score at will. They beat everybody on their schedule. They had to do what they had to do, and they dominated. And they met a team like the New York Giants, like the Baylor Bears, who were known for great defense.
Here's the difference in that.
Hold on, listen.
The Giants were not the number one seed in the NFC.
Oh, I know. I understand that, but just take that out. Take all the main things. Is look at the little similarities. Is their strength was their defense, and also was their 3-point shooting. Coming into this tournament, they were the best 3-point shooting team in the entire country, and it really showed last night. And every time Gonzaga had an answer and tried to cut into the lead, Baylor just came right back, got a 2 or got a big 3, and they never really had an opportunity. Really never had a chance. I even told you last night going on the way home, I was like, it just didn't feel like a national championship. Maybe it's because it was a blowout and we were so spoiled from this weekend's Final Four game between Gonzaga and UCLA that we were hoping for that part 2 in the national.
I just wonder if Gonzaga was spent too on the other night.
No, UCLA went. I mean, toe to toe with.
Well, because Baylor kind of coasted in their game, so the pressure of playing the whole game.
UCLA went 45 minutes straight of nonstop. It was a remark. That game, I know we didn't get to talk about that. We didn't get to, but that game, that was unbelievable. That's one for the history books. I'll go down as one of the basketball games I've ever watched. Probably the greatest basketball game.
Be there again next year. They're already the betting favorite next year to win the national championship. I gave you the stat last night. I'll give it to our fans who will actually watch the show. I believe it was 4 straight times the number 1 and number 2 teams that started in the preseason. So Gonzaga was the preseason number 1. Baylor was the number 2. The number 2 team had won when they faced in the national championship, had won each of the matchups. The last time that happened was 1999 when UConn upset and shocked the world. They beat Duke. That was the Kud El-Amin team with Rip Hamilton that beat the Ellen Brand team.
Congratulations. Let's move on. Forget about it. We're not talking about it.
All right, we're moving on to the next subject.
Hold on. Before we get to that, because March Madness has officially closed out and we have a champion. I want to ask you, I always ask this question to you because I want to know, what would you give the overall grade of March Madness 2021?
Hey.
Taking into consideration.
Hey. How could you not? Anything less than an A would be stupid. Listen, considering everything that's still going upon us, now we got double variants of COVID in California to find in. You got people still getting after. For them to really have only that one little hiccup with VCU, right? And that's
in Oregon. And that was in the first round.
Yeah, right against Oregon. And that's unfortunate. But with that being said, to be able to not have any other issues going forward, all the games were played. We had tons of upsets. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that because sometimes you don't get the blue blood teams that in the thing. But at the end of the day, you got the 2 best teams in the national championship. Baylor won the national championship. Listen, what did you want that you didn't get? Okay, you got the upset of Iowa over Illinois. Listen, Michigan got down to the wire and lost to UCLA 11 seed, Syracuse. Houston, you had everything you wanted. You had some buzzer beaters. The first game of the season, first game of the tournament was Virginia Tech and Florida, and that went to a buzzer beater overtime, and then Florida
went to overtime.
So, I mean, you got a little bit of everything in this tournament. You start to learn who some of these guys. Juzang from UCLA, I didn't know who he was all season long. He just made himself millions of dollars. Will be drafted probably in the NBA if he chooses to leave. I think as a whole, we got what we wanted. We got March Madness. We got a great tournament. I just don't know what people would want more so than what you got. I think
how people are now.
Listen, we're always greedy. We always want more. But I think you got to give the tournament, NCAA, an A+. Give them an A. There's no such thing as an A+.
Yeah, I'm giving it a solid A. I mean, everything, even for the women, but for both of these, oh my goodness, the women and the men's side to both survive and get to a national championship, complete the tournament without a hiccup other than the VCU Oregon game in the first round. That right there gives you an A. We didn't have March Madness a year ago. We didn't have any of this. We didn't have the excitement, the chaos, the people losing their minds over brackets. We got that all this year. We got it on the first day. It came all the way down to the wire. The Final Four. We may have seen the greatest college basketball game of all time. It's a possibility. I talked to people that have watched it longer than I have, and they said, yeah, that was the greatest game I ever saw. I mean, that says a lot for a tournament. There was the upsets. And it was different also on the top of, you didn't get no Dukes. You Get no Kentuckys. Get no Louisvilles. Michigan State was out in the first round, first four.
That was the UCLA game. That was the UCLA game. UCLA should have lost that
UCLA
game.
on top of it was down 14 in that game. So the run that they made was incredible. That was the Cinderella of this year, but it was UCLA. Kansas, where were they? They were nowhere to be found. It was different because you had no blue bloods. You had different teams, and you had a team like UCLA who's been in the dumps for some time in the Pac-12. And speaking of the Pac-12, job well done to the Pac-12 of for a team that has been a conference that's getting ripped apart all the time. Job well done by them. Big Ten, where you at? Because you were a no-show, but an overall great tournament. I loved it, and I'm excited to see what comes next year. But all in all, the Baylor Bears, congratulations to the newest champions, the first in Baylor history, with a dominant performance, 86-70, over the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Once perfection. So let's move on to the other big news yesterday, and we kind of knew this was going to happen, or some would say they did, but the Jets were so torn apart on if they wanted to move on from Sam Darnold or keep him and build around him. Well, we got that answer. And now that answer come in the next 24 days or 25 days comes a little more clear of who the New York Jets are going to take at number 2. I will be either Justin Fields, most likely will be Zach Wilson. But the Jets finally move on from their once-called franchise savior, Sam Darnold, that he goes to the Carolina Panthers, and the boy, oh boy, the New York Jets get more and more picks. They will have now 21 picks within the next 2 drafts. So Jets and Panthers, go ahead. They both.
No, I was going to say similar to what the Miami Dolphins did, where they both have 2 first rounds and 2 second rounds the next 3 years. It's funny, Trev, when we started doing this show, we remember 2-3 years ago. Remember how our big controversial thing was how could the Giants take Saquon over Sam Darnold and any of these other quarterbacks? Now, listen, no one knew Lamar was going to be the way he is. But listen, he still hasn't won a Super Bowl, all right? So, and Baker still got some questions, even though he had a really good season last year. Josh Rosen is, I don't know where he is right now. Probably surfing on
I think the Giants are bringing him in to look at to see if maybe as a backup.
And the best quarterback of that class right now, without question or doubt, I think, is Josh Allen. All right. I think as a true quarterback, Josh Allen's the best quarterback right now. His team was in the AFC Championship game, and I think if he progresses, he'll be better. It's funny, though, we look at it 3 years later. They gave up 3 second-round picks to go get Sam Darnold. The Giants didn't take a quarterback. We took a running back, and Sam Darnold shipped out to another team. I think it's a perfect fit for Sam Darnold, all right? From what I heard and read reports on, Denver wasn't interested in him. They felt that he was similar to Drew Lock. So that wasn't an upgrade. Then you look at the 49ers. They traded up. They're going to draft a quarterback. Because what we've learned in the NFL is while you have a rookie quarterback, within that first 4 years, you can pretty much do what the hell you want because it gives you so much flexibility within your salary cap space that you can go get big-time free agents. You can make moves because we saw that. That's what Seattle was able to do when they had Russell Wilson. Listen, it's been a progression. That's how the Giants won their first Super Bowl. Eli was still under the rookie deal. Joe Flacco under rookie. I mean, it's just the history goes back. I love it. I think it's going to give him think about it. He's going to go from New York to Carolina. I mean, talk about going from the big-time Apple to a smaller, quieter, more comfortable, almost college-like atmosphere in Carolina. He's going to get the best running back in the NFL, which he's never had a running back, in Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have his old teammate, Robbie Anderson, a deep threat put. He's going to have DJ Moore, the intermediate guy, all right? And he's going to have Joe Brady, who worked wonders for Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, if he can progress, Sam Darnold, Joe Brady will eventually be out of there. But I like where they're at. They still keep their number 1 pick, the number 8 pick, and they can do a lot of things. They could, if Pitts falls, I'd take Pitts. Now you got your tight end, receivers, and running backs. Or I think more likely that we both looked at last night, maybe they go get one of the offensive linemen if they're both sitting there and reinforce that offensive line because they have lost linemen.
They lost Trey Turner. They got rid of Trey Turner this offseason.
And whatnot. Newell, the guard, went to Jacksonville a couple years. Trey Turner went to the Chargers. So I'm excited for the move. It's also funny that the Carolina will be playing the Jets this year. Mm-hmm. I saw that reported by Adam Schefter. So that's always makes for an interesting storyline going when that game is played. But listen, it's a win-win. The Jets are going to take their rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson. I think that's inevitable. They pick up 3 extra draft picks, a six round this year, a second and a fourth next year. And they're able to rebuild and move forward with a new coach, a new quarterback, and an opportunity for them to grow. Because I think Sam Darnold, sometimes you just fall in quicksand and you just can't get yourself out. And I think as much as they would have liked to see Sam Darnold progress, I think it was best for both organizations, both the Jets, Sam Darnold, and Carolina, to move on and get their new quarterback.
Yeah, plain and simple. This is a move that I'm kind of surprised. I know that with Carolina, in the sense of, I know they needed a quarterback. They were done with Teddy Bridgewater. I know earlier in the offseason, they were really trying hard to go get Deshaun Watson. Well, Deshaun Watson has his own issues going on right now. Sam Darnold was probably the next best available guy there, because Russell Wilson wasn't going to get traded. But you look at now Sam Darnold's situation and scenario that he's in. He's got a young head coach, a young offensive-minded coach, and Matt Rule. You got Joe Brady, who I think is going to eventually be a head coach within the next year or two. You got Christian McCaffrey, who didn't even play last year pretty much. So then you get DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I know you lose Curtis Samuel. And you said, Ted, they have a lot of options now at that 8th pick. They can take Penny Sewell over Sean Slater. Whoever is there, they could take one of the receivers. Me personally, I would go line to give him protection. But this is a guy that has looked good at times. Here's the thing. There's been some wow moments for him. He's had some wow moments before. And even with the New York Jets. When he didn't play with the Jets, they were 0-10. They were an awful guy. I mean, they were already bad. Without Sam Darnold, this team was putrid. Just looked like a JV offense. So to see him, and I know Joe Douglas, this was a tough decision on him. But now with the new coaching regime and Robert Saleh, you know that they want their guy. They're going to look to the future and say, well, look, let's see. So we got the 2nd, the 20th, the 34th. They got 3 picks in the top 34 picks. So right there off the bat, you're going to take a quarterback. You can use all these picks. And let's not think that the Jets are just going to stand pat with all these picks. I mean, they have so many options. And if they wanted to move back up or in the first round, who cares? Oh, give up a couple picks? Okay. We got 21 the next 2 drafts. Who gives a crap? Who cares? I'll go pick the best available player there. Go add a defensive player. Go add another weapon if you want. Who cares?
Well, we both had them taking a running back. I believe in both our mock drafts that we did so far. I think we both had them taking a quarterback and a running back. When we did that, I will say this though, for Carolina, it's a win-win too, because first you get Sam Darnold. They already are going to accept his 5th-year option, so that means he's there this year, next year. So this is what it's going to be. It's going to be $5 million this year, $19 million next year, which means you're going to get a starting quarterback for $24 million over the next 2 seasons. Not too bad for Carolina. You still got some young players. Now, if Justin Fields is sitting there at 8, there's a possibility that that New England could always come calling.
Well, now you see Atlanta. You see Atlanta trying to trade that 4th pick. So,
but I know you're saying 4,
at whoever's number 4,
you're going to have to give up a lot to come to 4, wherever you're coming from, wherever. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you come to 8, you might have to give up a little less. So if Carolina does choose to go back to 15,
well, realistically,
now the draft capital that they lost, they could gain back, and they could still listen. You could get Variah Tucker, the guard/tackle from USC. You can get a receiver. You can get a defensive player. Now, don't forget Carolina went all defense last year, so we'll see what happens.
Here's the thing that's tough now. Go ahead.
One last thing. I will say this. I'm surprised the Bears didn't give the Jets a call. Considering what Carolina gave up, a 6th, a 2nd, and a 4th. Considering where the Bears are. Now, listen. Maybe they just think Andy Dalton's just as good as Sam Darnold. I don't know.
You're putting a lot of faith, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, a lot of faith.
I know Sam Darnold hasn't given you anything really to be excited about.
Yeah, but he's with the Jets. I'll give him a pass.
I understand that. And if you think Matt Nagy's the right man for the job, you'd say he would fix Sam Darnold. Okay, he does throw picks. It was an issue when he was at USC. It's an issue. Whatever. So did Brett Favre. But can you win me games? Now, the Jets were god-awful. I'm surprised the Bears didn't do that. Whatever. It's the Bears. Andy Dalton's going to be their starting quarterback, and they're going to draft some guy that is not going to make that much difference. Listen, it's a win-win for everyone. Like you said, the Jets get draft capital, gives them flexibility in cap space and draft assets going forward. They
and the thing
can
that
move
makes
up
us
and down the board if they want. Joe Douglas is supposedly a really smart man, so we'll see what happens going forward. And Carolina gets their quarterback for the next 2 years, and Carolina has just reported that they will let Teddy Bridgewater seek trades if he chooses to.
And that's the thing that makes it so tough is that now with you already know that three of the 5 quarterbacks will be gone by pick 4. So Atlanta's pick becomes that much more valuable. Now, what does Atlanta do? Does Atlanta decide to keep that pick, draft a quarterback, or see? That's the thing that makes it so tough with teams like this. You're in a situation where you have teams that are going to want to try to trade up. Denver Broncos would be the first team that comes to mind because they don't have they don't have a quarterback that they could say, "Hey, I'm good with this." They're not comfortable with Drew Lock. They need to find whether that's Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or hell, if it's even Mac Jones, they got to figure out which one are they going to try to go after. The Patriots are another option. You have teams. That's why Atlanta is in a good situation because you can either draft that quarterback, your future franchise quarterback, or you can trade back, pick up pieces, and still get a great player at wherever position you are, whether that be 9 or whether that be outside the top 10. Atlanta's in a good position, but that's where the draft starts now, because we know 3 quarterbacks are going to get drafted.
It's just a couple of weeks ago, the draft starts at number 2. Remember, that's how you started one of the shows off.
Yeah, next week it's going to
number 3. Now we're going to start at number 4.
Well, if Atlanta's serious about trading their pick, yeah, by next week we're going to be saying, well, the draft starts at 5 because we already know if one of those teams, if it's Denver or somebody, we know they're not trading up to go take a receiver or a lineman. They're going to go up and take the quarterback.
Is Justin Fields much better than Drew Lock?
So then you're going to have realistically 1 quarterback left going in the pick 5. That quarterback and whoever wants to becomes vital. It becomes vital.
And that's where New England comes in. I think here's what I think. If Denver moves up, I think they would take Trey Lance. Okay. The question would
everybody's really high on Trey Lance, and everybody's kind of just like, Justin Fields. I'm not buying
it. That's okay. Well, because he has a lot of vulnerabilities. What you saw in the big.
Teams are going to draft a guy, because of potential and play. Hold on. That a team somebody said
he plays with the best team every year in the Big Ten, and he plays against. It's like Gonzaga, bro. The Big Ten stinks. Michigan stinks. Penn State is okay, but if you look at Ohio State, they are the Alabama of the Big Ten.
So you mean to tell me that you would rather?
Listen, when you play with the better talent every week, you're gonna just like Mac Jones. This is Mac Jones thing. We talked about this off script. When you're playing with 2 number 1 receivers, when you had the best left tackle in the game, you had the Remington winner, the center, you had Najee Harris, the Doak Walker. I mean, when you have all these award winners, you're gonna look a lot better than everyone else. The problem is, I'm not taking.
Justin
Fields, he did not play well in the 3 big games that he needed to.
Who?
Justin Fields did not play well against Indiana. Did not play well against.
Look at his 2 seasons. Go look at Alabama. Okay, Alabama with broken freaking ribs and playing against Alabama. Trevor Lawrence wouldn't have looked good. Trevor Lawrence didn't look good against Ohio State. So we don't knock Trevor Lawrence. We keep saying, Trevor Lawrence is the greatest thing in the world, but the last time we saw him in a football game,
yeah, you're also biased because you're a Ohio State fan.
No, I'm just saying the last time we saw.
The last time Ohio State quarterback succeeded,
he got his ass kicked. And Justin Fields was throwing for 6 touchdowns. All I'm saying is Justin Fields up until this season, or maybe the past couple months, we all thought was going to be 1-2, Fields and Lawrence, or Lawrence and Fields. That's what we thought. Now all of a sudden, Mac Jones. You really mean to tell me that we're going to take a guy in Mac Jones? Yeah, he came from Alabama. He's smart. He reads great defenses. Well, like you said, Ted, it helps when you got all the greatest talent in the world. And not to mention last year. Then you're going to tell me you're going to take another guy. We'll get into this all more because we're going to post our mock drafts. We've got maybe another 1 or 2 that we're going to do before the actual draft.
We'll do tomorrow.
So
next week.
And then you mean to tell me is that we're going to – and then you're going to take a guy that's only played in 17 games, let alone only 1 game last year, and didn't even look good, but we're going to knock Justin Fields. I'm sorry. I'm going with Justin Fields, and if he could go to a team like Atlanta or even San Fran, then he's put in a great situation.
I don't think he's going to either. I think more likely if he's sitting there at 8-bud, I think that's where New England comes calling.
See, that's fine with me. That would be another great position. See, if Denver tried to trade up and drafted him, I don't think he would do well because I have to see him kind of get a couple games, like just see it all.
Well, see, that was better than Drew Lock.
If you go to San Fran, or if you could go to or if you could go to, oh my God, I'm losing my or Atlanta, he can sit for a year or maybe even play midway of the season.
Exactly, but
then
if
you
you
got
go
Grant.
to Denver, he's going to have to start. But here's my question to you. I don't look at him much better than Drew Lock, okay? Because when Drew Lock was coming out, we liked both Drew Lock. Well, you had him going to the Giants. I looked at some Facebook.
I know.
You thought he was going to be the Giant guy. You're like strong arm quarterback, athletic, little moxie in him. He would be a nice fit. Now, listen, I don't think Drew Lock's bad, but you look at that conference or division over there. Okay, you know who Mahomes is. We all think Justin Herbert's the next big thing.
Yep.
Derek Carr is no slouch. I know he doesn't jump off the page to you, but look at his stats. He's progressively a really good quarterback every year. And then you're looking at Denver like, damn, I have the fourth best quarterback in the division. And here, one other team. I'm surprised Washington give the Jets a call. Sam Darnold.
Too.
I don't know.
But,
I mean,
they took
Ryan Fitzpatrick. But 16 games, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think you're getting a 7-9 team, 6-10 team. Maybe that defense is not good, but we'll see. So,
but yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I said the draft started at 2, and last week I said draft starts at 3, and now we'll go this week. We'll start the draft at 4. That could change drastically because now the Atlanta Falcons are looking to try to trade out of 4. So whoever's coming up, I guess we could say that's where the draft will start now at number 4. But the big news, the national champs, March Madness has been completed, a great overall tournament. Also, somebody said that Oral Roberts, a 15 seed, coming almost down to the wire, maybe making it to the Elite 8. So that was just another huge thing. Oh, breaking news.
Trade alert. Not that it's huge news, but Yankees are finalizing a deal to acquire infielder Odor from the Rangers. Jeff Passan just reported.
Wow, really?
That's an MLB trade alert. Just came out breaking.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you.
So I think that'll probably give them flexibility. Which I think he can play. I believe he can play second, third, and short. I'm not sure.
He's gonna have to shave that beard.
Hey, at least we know he can throw a good punch, baby.
Oh yeah, we know that. But it was a great March Madness, and the New York Jets look like they're going to be selecting their next quarterback and hopeful face of the franchise. Sam Darnold has a new home. Let's see if he flourishes. We'll be back later this week to discuss the first week of MLB baseball with the Joseph Aguirre. Talk about the New York Yankees as well. And we'll see what happens with the NFL because right now it's draft one.
Hey.
There's a lot that's going to happen. We're going to post our mock draft 3.0 within by the end of the week at latest. And then we'll post another one before the NFL draft actually occurs.
All-Star game got moved to Colorado, which is nice. I would love to see Judge and Stan in the home run derby. Now we can hit 500-foot bombs in that Colorado atmosphere.
That would be awesome. But yes, we will talk about that at the end of the week. We'll talk about the whole baseball with Joseph.
We're going to have Joe on? Is Joe going to be back?
Yeah, of course. He wants to talk about Kraken. Kraken's been hitting some Kraken. He's been hitting the bombs right now. So, Joe's going to be very excited about that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, and like. Ladies and gentlemen, Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.